Content with any game, whether it's MonoGame, whether it's Unreal, whether it's Unity, or even Godot, or whichever one you're doing, managing your content is always a very tricky process. Yes, you can get files, put them in your project, reference them, and just have them work, and just print into the screen, no problem. You can have your own custom library for loading audio, different ways of doing sprites and things like that. Lots of options out there. But generally speaking, that when you're building your project, if you're managing the content yourself, what you'll find, as we in the foundation find out regularly, is that once you take the old game to another platform, they have a different way of working. If you take it to Android, the compression ratios, how images are handled, you have different audio formats. Go to iOS, similar issues. Once you get to consoles, the problem gets even harder to try and manage and try to do things on your own. So this is where the whole idea of the content pipeline or content project comes in play. So with the content pipeline, what MonoGame is doing for you is it gives you a place where you can register and store all your assets. There's no different to any other engine or framework out there. You're putting your content in generally in one place. You can have more than one. It's completely up to you. We don't restrict you in any way. Once you've got things into your project, you're setting them up, you're doing different scaling, different options, you're having extensions and things, extensions there to have way different customized behaviors for. So for instance, you might try to get a tile map, and it's like, well, I want to use these images for the tile map, and I want to order them this way. And you actually have a process of importing them, which generates them in a format which is usable by your game. The 2D tutorial shows this, several others do, lots of different ways. I think I've done videos on also doing localization, so that at build time you can build it for localization, or having localizable libraries compiled into a way that your game understands, or different ways to import XML and other sort of things. And then just case of you're going to compile it, you're going to build it. So I'm going to build for Android, right? Package all this content, compress it in a way that's compatible to the format, and ship it with your game. It's there copied, put in with it, packaged up. That's your game with that content for that platform. Everyone's good. And then finally, then at runtime, all you're simply going to do is say, right, well, I need image X, I need sound effect Y, I need this background music playing, and your game just pulls it from the content system at runtime. Nice and easy. But where we're running into problems, especially what we're going to focus on today, is this whole point about the actual project or the area where your content is currently placed. Today, that's the process of what we call, or lovingly call, is the MonoGame content editor. This is arguably really just a configuration file. It mimics what XNA does in how it structures and organizes your content. It says, right, these are audio files, these are different things. It gives you templates for different types of content. It allows you to either copy content from someone else and managing it so it's in your local project, or it creates a reference to where it might be living on your system. Bear in mind, obviously, that's per project. If you have your content in different places, it can be a nightmare. Simply because if there are more than one developer, or you've got several artists, your content's everywhere, and everyone has to have it in exactly the same way for that kind of system to work. One of the biggest issues we have, and it's been over the lifetime that this tool's lived, is that it is a .NET tool. Initially, in sort of the early 3.8 days, it was a global tool, so you had one version of this editor running on your machine. If you didn't have it, things went badly, and that was a hard limitation, because then what we found is that some studios that had several different projects at several different stages, each doing different things, each requiring different requirements. So having a global tool didn't work because one project was using 3.8, another one was using 3.2, another one, for whatever reason, had to use something in between. One tool didn't work, so we changed it in round through the 3.2 cycles to being a local tool, which means you're not having one per machine, you're having one per your project. And this solves a lot of problems. Well, there is the rub. You solve one problem and several other snakes come up to bite you and make your life hell. And this is the problem we've had with having .NET tooling extensions and facilities within it. While the content editor works, it works on Mac, Linux, and Windows. it didn't work the same on all. And updating and maintaining this over time wasn't done the best. And we admit it as a foundation that this is something we didn't invest enough time with, and it's now got to a state where it works most of the time, but that's not great. That's not a good experience for you, the customers, and for you developers who are actually using this. You expect it, a case of like, I want to start it up and load it. When we had the 3.8.4 launch, we saw the numerous issues because the templates were looking at the most latest public version. The .NET tooling was looking at a specific version. It created, if you then upgraded, it created a mismatch. And you can see where this is going. It's just making more and more pain. Add to this that when we have extensions, so obviously the pipeline supports extensions, custom ways where I can change how things are built. I can use different shaders for a different effects, or I can have different ways of sorting it, or having a file which says, right, get all this content packaged together. There's my like skybox or something. There are loads of these extensions out there in the community, all doing different things. The MonoGame extended package has several, especially for working things like tiled. And the problem is, if you had a problem, or if you didn't configure something quite right in your asset and it's using an extension, or you're loading it in your project, things break. And when things break, debugging or trying to diagnose what's wrong with your content or your extension or some part of your code that's loading became a nightmare. We added tools to sort of enable it, so you can add debugging into it, but invariably that created a problem, because if it was the problem was your content, so a file was corrupt, an XML file was not constructed right, and so it had, when MonoGame was pulling it in, it was actually failing inside the internals of MonoGame, and this created another nightmare because you couldn't debug that easily. You had to go back, get the MonoGame source for the builder, build it. It was no good. The debugging experience itself as well is a nightmare, even for us. And we're building and testing these things every day, and it's just anyway. So the announcement, it says that it had to go, or something had to be done, and this is where one of the foundation members, Harry, who took it upon himself to actually go and build what we'd all been dreaming of, is a different way to approach this, which didn't have as many dependencies, didn't have as many problems, and also could be more open and a lot easier to use, especially when it comes to debugging with extensions. We listened, we looked at the feedback, we worked on this, and this is what we have today now. So working on the new content project system or content builder.
If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and tap the bell for YouTube notifications. Comment below to let us know what you'd like to see more of. Support us at monogame.net/donate or get in touch via social media.